Would a sex ed class have helped you to better understand sex?
Well, I didn't really know the details of sex, and the sex education class that I took in junior high helped me understand some things. And I didn't just, have to learn everything off the streets like most kids have to.
Who informed you about the basics of sex?
My sex education teacher in my junior high.
What are your thoughts on having a mandatory sexual education class in high school?
I think it should be mandatory for high school students, all high school students, and it should be for junior high school students because kids who get pregnant are getting younger and younger, and kids who are having sex are getting younger and younger, and I think that's because they don't really know what they're doing. They just think, oh, it's sex, everybody's doing it, let's all do it, but they don't really know the consequences or the emotional impact it really has on you.
What do you think you would learn about in a sexual education class?
I think you should learn how to put on a condom, boy or girl. You should know how to put on a condom. And you should know about STDs and how they're contracted. And how sex might affect the child mind.
Let me know that I've done wrong when I've known this all along.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a few questions for our interview. First one is, would a sex ed class have helped you to better understand sex and have prevented you from getting pregnant?
No.
Okay. Who informed you about the basics of sex? Was it a health teacher, your parents, or another source?
My mom.
And she did it well? Okay. Do you know all of the effects, both positive and negative, of having unprotected sexual relations?
Well, obviously.
What are your thoughts on having a mandatory sexual education class in high school?
I think it's just telling you things you already know.
Okay. Why do you think this?
Because if I took that class, the same things would have happened.
And the last question is, what do you think you learned about in a sexual education class?
The basics.
Just the basics?
STDs. Important things.
I'm going to ask you a few questions about sex ed. The first question is, do you believe a sex ed class in the school would be helpful?
Yes, I definitely think it would be helpful. I think there's a lot of children who don't know about sex. Their parents never spoke to them about it. And I think maybe learning in school is the only place that they will learn about it. And it will give them a little bit more knowledge into what goes into being sexually active.
Okay, second question. If you were a regular teacher, would you be okay if you were asked to teach the class?
Of course I would. Yes, I'd do it. Knowledge is power.
Okay, third question. Do you think the students would benefit from having a sex ed class in addition to our pre-exiting health class?
Yes, I think so. I think we do have the health class, but yet I do see a lot of teen pregnancy, not just here, but all over. And I think the students need to know a little bit more about bodies and maturity and being sexually active and what comes along with being sexually active, like pregnancy and diseases. And I think we need to open up the kids' eyes more about what goes on.
Okay. Did you have a sexual education class when you were in school?
I did. Actually, I did. Once in 6th grade, we watched a whole movie about maturity and sex and having children and how you have children. And then I do remember in high school, we did have a class and we had to carry around an egg like it was our baby for like a month. And we had to take care of it. And it was to show you how hard it is and the responsibility of having a child at such a young age, how it changes your whole life. And we had to document and have a journal and, really act like we had a child for a while.
Did that help you
Yes,
to better understand?
Scared me.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely scared me, opened up my eyes to a lot of things that I didn't know that my parents didn't talk to me about.
That's good. What do you think is the most important topic for high school students to learn in a sex ed class?
Again, I think, well, sex is a huge topic. Again, people are afraid to talk about it. Parents are afraid to talk to their children. Sometimes it's not easy, but as we grow, our bodies change, hormones, and things go on. And I think, again, the more educated we are about our bodies, the better decisions we'll make as to maybe being sexually active at a young age. We might think about things more before we do things with people, whether it be men or women.
Who has to know when we live such fragile lives? It's the best way we...
I do think it would be helpful. I think it's actually necessary. We actually have a high percentage of pregnant teenagers at the school. Both not just teenagers who are in the school, but teenagers who have graduated from here and have gotten pregnant right away. I know there were at least 3 girls from last year's graduating class who, shortly after graduating, either became pregnant or gave birth. So yeah, I think it would be a very beneficial class to hopefully prevent that kind of stuff from taking place.
Do you think the students in our school would benefit from having a sex ed class in addition to our pre-existing health class? If so, explain.
Yeah, and I think it's similar to my response to that first question, in that the health class only, at least currently, only has a very brief section on sexual education, and I think it would be very beneficial for the students to have something that goes a little bit more in depth, and not only that, but to look at kind of the social constructs of being a parent.
Do you think making a documentary like we are and showing the kids in school would make them want to learn more about sex ed or about sex in general?
I think that teenagers in general want to know everything there is to know about sex. So if given the opportunity to have a sex education class that will allow them to learn more about sex and then also learn a little bit more about the consequences of sex, I think that'll be something that they'll definitely jump at the opportunity to get involved with.
Okay.
I think it would be helpful. I think that students would learn a lot. They would learn about their bodies. They learn as they mature. I think it would be very helpful. If I was qualified to teach the class, I would teach the class. I think it would be very interesting. I think we'd get a lot of ideas in the class, and there'd be a lot of discussion. And I like classes with discussion.
Do you think the students would benefit from having a sex ed class in addition to our pre-exiting health class?
Yes, I think they would. I think my sexual education class was part of health. I think it was part of health. I don't recall, but in high school, I think there was a health class that was sex ed.
Do you think it should have been separated?
I'm not sure if it really was separated. I don't remember. It was such a long time ago. It might have been separated. See, when I went to Dewey, and at Dewey we were split up into cycles. So at that time it was 5 cycles. Every 7 weeks we switched classes. So I think there was a class in sex ed that I took in high school.
Did that class help you, your understanding of it?
Yes, it did. That class, and as well as biology, the most important topic.
Yeah.
I think they should learn the whole topic of it. I don't think you can learn separate pieces of it. I think that they should know everything about it. I don't think that it can be taught in piecemeal. I think they should learn, what happens biologically, what happens in terms of their feelings. Okay, and I think that's important. Also, that the feelings are different for a male and a female, because right now they're not boys and girls, you're adults. So I think the feelings are different, and those are feelings that are important.